Hey guys, Dark Humility here. You can always catch me at www.twitch.tv/Dark Humility for Diablo 2 content 6 to 7 days a week. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we have a build that is probably one of the coolest, also an insanely strong build, but also one of the most technical builds on Project Diablo 2. This is a Bow Sorceress. Oh, sorceress. On hardcore, yes, on my hardcore live Project Diablo 2 account, season 2. This is a Bow Sorceress. Bow Sorceress, I would say overall, is a very strong character. I would say it's like upper A tier in terms of overall map clear speed. But before we demo this character, we'll show off the stats, we'll talk about the skills, and we'll show off all the gear and all the pre-buff items. So you guys can kind of better understand how to make this character as strong as possible. There's a lot of technicalities. You know, we'll also talk about some software differences as well, and hopefully you guys feel more comfortable with this build in general. All right, here we go. So. Yes, it is a little sketchy. We'll talk about it in a second. So our damage is enormous. This is multi-shot. 31k. It's a combination of lightning and fire damage primarily. And it's insanely good. It's just insanely good. It does so much damage. And you can boost your fire enchant damage a ton. And you can even boost your dreams damage a ton, and it just does a ton of damage and rips through maps like nothing. It will cut through them like butter, and with other buffs from players in a party, if you're not running solo, you can cut through high player count fairly easily as well. Pretty nutty. We have about 10k AR in the standard version of this build, so that's not bad. That's usually where you kind of want to hit on most builds that use AR, so this build's a little challenging to get AR on, so it's definitely something we can talk about. But yeah, it's a little challenging for sure. But yeah, it's not too bad in general. Defensive wise, our defense is okay. When the Mercenary has Defiance Aura on, which he currently does not, but if he does, it get like 4,000 to 5,000 defense. Basically, strength and dex wise, you just put as much strength as you need to wear your gear and as much dex as you need to wear your gear. This is not a normal bow zone, so dexterity is not going to contribute to your damage all that much, because even though you do some physical damage, which is how you're leeching, it's not a ton. You also have a ton of vitality, and you have a decent amount of energy. But you don't put any points of energy, you just put the rest of points in vitality. And then as for res, your res could be a bit better than this. I'm favoring my damage reduction on hardcore a bit more, so I don't get wrecked by archers a bit more than my res. My res is okay, and there's some ways we can improve it, which I can talk about at some point. But it's okay for. We have. Yeah, our res is not amazing, especially for hardcore, but luckily we have energy shields, so it's not as big of a deal, and we're also not jumping directly in the middle of enemies, so it's workable. It's workable at these values, so it's not too bad. Damage reduction gets up to 38% when the Mercenary procs his aura, so it's not bad. That's kind of where you like to be. You can still get wrecked by physical archers from range, so I don't know. Even with energy shield, I still like having a significant amount of damage reduction if possible, because sometimes the energy shield just gets wrecked. I can tell you, first-hand experience. Like last night, would have died I think a couple times if I didn't have that DR. And we have Elemental Pierce, which is pretty solid stuff. So Elemental Pierce plus the Infinity plus all the rest of everything going on. We have a pretty decent amount of Elemental Pierce. So we have about 70% fire negative fire res. We have about 40% negative cold res and almost 40% negative light res when Race Conviction is applied to enemies on top of these base pierces I have for my gear. We have hit recovery 42. Well, that's okay. We're not jumping directly in the middle of enemies, so 42 is actually a lot. You might not even really need 42, but that's a decent amount. Fast run walk is okay, purely from our boots. And like I said, we have some attack rating. Attack rating is pretty solid. And we have 110 attack speed. 110 attack speed, we are hitting a 102 attack speed breakpoint. Since we only need 102 and 105 under different circumstances, you don't actually need 110, which is why we can actually still optimize this build a little bit more. But in general, you know, it's kind of tough to find the gear to like continue to optimize this build at this point in the ladder. So we don't have everything perfect, but it's a pretty solid version of the build at this point. Our FCR is 0. Yeah, 0. It could be a bit higher, but you know, it is what it is. It's not a teleporting build, so that's fine. You can play her kind of most like a normal Boson and teleport if you absolutely have to. And alright, we have a decent amount of life leech, and we have at least a source of mana leech. And you know, those are both good things. We have a lot of mana regen anyway, and we have some mana leech. And having a lot of life leech is good because we don't do all that much physical damage. So if we actually do want to leech life and we want to refill our life bar, it'll be okay. I'll be honest though, the leeching is nothing close to as good as like a normal Boson because you're not a lot of physical damage. You don't leech off of elements. Is primarily what we have on this build. Projectile Pierce, 81%. So that's kind of where I recommend you kind of want it at least like 80 or higher. I would say anywhere from 80 to 100 is solid. There's a lot of other versions of the build. I think maybe more common versions of the build that use Magnus's skin, which can get you up to 100% if you have Magnus's skin gloves plus a Pierce Corruption on top of it. It's really challenging to get Pierce in this build though because it's not like a normal Zon where you have the Pierce skill. So it's actually pretty challenging to get the Pierce on this sorceress here. It is challenging. We're getting it in pretty much every location we can without like totally wrecking my. So it's challenging. All right. Of course, there's you know there's another pair of gloves that can get us closer to 100. That being said, when I fire this, I'm piercing through everything almost all the time. So with 81%, it still feels almost as good as 100. I wouldn't think it's as big of a deal as maybe some people might think. And then 96% magic find, so it has about 100 base MF. With the map MF though in season 2, it is crazy strong, so it still gets about 200 some maps. It's nice. So overall, that's kind of the stats you're looking for. That's the stats we're looking for. In general, with this mini guide here, I just want to give people maybe more confidence in building this character. This character is a very challenging technical build. You can kind of see that from looking at all the stats you have to worry about. There's all kinds of things, man. There's AR, there's defense, there's just damage overall, there's res, which is really hard to get sometimes in this build. Hardcore, there's DR. You don't have to worry about DR as much on softcore, so you can definitely change out some gear pieces. There's projectile pierce. There's the dream, which is a mandatory item. We'll explain why. There's just all kinds of stuff going on. It's pretty challenging. So it's not like a simple build where it's like, oh, if I pump damage in FCR and I'm on softcore, then I'm good. You know, if you're on hardcore, you just have to get some DR and res. No, I mean it's a bit tougher than that. All right, so and I learned that firsthand. I actually didn't even know everything about this build until like literally like 24 hours ago. So we've been doing some research and talking with people in the chat that have done a lot of tinkering with this build. So we've actually learned a lot. All right, anyway. So 1 point into chilling armor on the skills. That is chilling armor. I think is probably better than shiver armor in this character because you're not planning to get hit by melee attacks as much. You're getting hit by ranged attackers much more because you're constantly far back. So chilling armor actually, this is one of the few situations on a sorceress where I might actually consider going chilling armor. Now, one thing I should mention about this tree here is dark humility. Wait, what? No cold enchant. You only have 1 point in a cold enchant. You didn't put anything in a cold mastery, and you didn't even touch its synergy except for once to put 1 point into it. What is going on? What is going on? Well, cold enchant doesn't do that much damage. So I do use cold enchant. I do. Um, um, but I only apply like 100 damage of it, and the whole goal of it when I pre-buff it to 100 damage is just to have enough damage, or just to have cold enchant on my weapons so I can freeze the enemies. That's it. It doesn't do a lot of damage. I maxed it out yesterday. I even tested this out, and it does no damage. It does like 500 damage with everything. Even if you pre-buff with cold skillers, you could get it up to maybe 1 to 1.5k, but that's nothing compared to what you can get on the fire damage component and on the lightning component. So you can invest into this. You definitely can, but I don't recommend it. It didn't seem like it was worth it, just overall, and it's not really worth it. But getting 1 point into it is solid to freeze enemies. You want that cold damage on your weapons so that you can freeze enemies. And I don't have cold damage, I don't think, anywhere else on my gear. See, if you were wearing Raven Frost, it'd be a bit different, but yeah. I mean, to be fair, we have cold damage on this because I'm using Frost Burns, but I mean, it's nice just to have maybe some source, but it's not a big. It's not a big deal. All right, now that that kind of cold enchant explanation is out of the way. But yeah, if you don't believe me, anyone in chat, you guys can check the VOD. Like it's kind of pathetic. It was kind of weak. All right, but what we have here is maximum lightning mastery, 1 point energy shield, and the rest of the points into telekinesis. With pre-buff, energy shield gets to about 50%, so that's not too bad. Um, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Putting points into telekinesis makes it to where your mana doesn't drain instantly when you're hit by something. That's really nice, so you can recover your mana back with some mana leech or just from your warmth. So this makes energy shield a lot more effective, and it makes it take a lot more damage. Lightning mastery, you max it, 100%. You have to. This is a thing that happens in LOD too. So in LOD, when you have a dream or two dreams, when you're going dual dreams or dream, the rune word dream, you get Holy Shock Aura. Holy Shock Aura can be boosted a ton by Lightning Mastery. So this is a must-have for damage. All right. Fire Tree. So Fire Tree is really important. It's more important than I thought last night when I tested it. It's insanely important. The fire pierce off of Fire Mastery gets really high, and the percent fire damage also gets. On top of that, both Enchant Fire and Warmth, maxing both of these, which are synergies, gives you a ton of attack rating, which you desperately need. I mean, notice how I'm barely below 10k attack rating, and yeah, and that's with them maxed out. So like you have to do this. You gotta max out Enchant Fire and Warmth and Fire Mastery, and then it's really solid. And since this is a build that uses enchant for its attack rating, you can't bail yourself out on this build with demon limb, like on a lot of other builds. It's like, oh, I have a demon limb so I can enchant myself. Well, I've already enchanted myself, so with a lot better enchant than demon limb will ever have. So so it's not gonna do anything for you. You definitely gotta make some creative uses sometimes to get your AR up, and explain our gear choices that definitely helped with that. Yeah. All right. In general, that's the skills. Don't fall into the cold enchant trap. It's a trap. Okay. Gear. So Mercenary, first of all, is a Defiance Act 2 Mercenary. It's just good for hardcore, just having the Defiance aura. If you're on softcore and you're lacking ER, you can definitely consider Blessed A Mercenary. No matter what, though, you're going to be using an Act 2 Mercenary on yourself. Why? Because you need Infinity. Infinity, we do most of our damage is lightning and fire damage, so we need to reduce monster resistances and even break some immunities, which can help at least a little bit inside of the maps. It's a no-brainer. It's gotta have Infinity. It's like on most elemental builds, but on a build that like relies almost entirely on huge amounts of elemental damage, it's even more. Especially when it's lightning and fire. We're not even talking cold damage, so like, yeah, it's pretty important. Hands, Nas Coil, Endaro's Visage, Fortitude, Goblin Tooth. Alright, so these items just give our Mercenary attack speed and damage. You might notice the Mercenary has 13,000 damage. That's no mistake. I enchanted him too. So he gets 9,000 to 13,000 damage. So the Mercenary ends up doing 1 billion damage himself. So he's doing 1 billion damage. So one of the advantages of a Bow Sorc, or just an Enchant Sorc in general, is that your Mercenary also hits like a as well, right? So yeah, I just apply the enchant to him like so. Of course, I'm not pre-buffed right now. I already did the pre-buff, but yeah, you get the idea. He is a monster. All right. Items. You have to wear this. This is the only way to get multi-shot on a character that is not a boson. And it doesn't do the senility. It only gives guided arrows. So this is probably one of the most awesome item changes in PD2 in my opinion, because I always thought that like allowing Widowmaker to be better for PvE in some way, give it like another like Xana ability would be pretty cool. Like multi-shot's amazing. It's such a cool thing to add to Widowmaker. And this corruption's a 5 socket, so it's a really good corruption. And we got Shale runes because we need attack speed. We desperately need to hit that at 102 attack speed breakpoint on this character. So we need a ton of attack speed. And then I put a lightning facet in it just to help out the lightning pierce a little. There's definitely other options here. You can put other facets in it. You can put 15 attack speed res jewels if your res sucks. Matter of fact, that's what I plan to do if I can get a certain attack speed res jewel. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but it could help out my light res. See, I'm planning on trying to short it up closer to like 70. Right now, it's, like I said, for hardcore, this is like barely passable, but you don't have to worry about that too much. So the main goal is to make sure you get a ton of attack speed and anything else, maybe pierce and some other stuff in it. Okay. Yeah. For sure. For sure, absolutely. Shaft stop. Okay, so this is rounding out my attack speed because of other things I did, but it's also holding up my damage reduction. I chose the damage reduction route, and I think I'm glad I did because I probably would have died several times over. Yeah, you really need damage reduction. I think the res is the res the res is good from the attack speed jewels, and we're also shoring up right. We're accomplishing a lot of things with this, but I'd say on most versions of the build, people actually use chains of armor. I'm not a huge fan of the armor in general, but it makes a lot of sense because you get res and you get to maintain plus skills, which actually help out the lightning damage from frame. So I'd say uh, Chains of Honor or Shaft Stop with sockets in it for attack speed res. I'm pretty sure those are really the only choices for it, pretty much. On the main build, not the pre-buff. We'll talk about the pre-buff in a second. Dream. All right, Dream. This is another must-have on the build because you're not going to do enough damage without a huge boost or a huge infusion of lightning damage. So I actually get 12k from this even without lightning skillers. If I'm wearing my lightning skillers set, I get 18k off of this. It's very important to have the Dream. Lightning Mastery boosts its damage immensely. It's crazy. Also gives you a lot of res, which I desperately need. So I actually got lucky. I rolled a pretty decent res. All right, Mars. I'd say Mars is pretty much best in slot. The only other thing I'd probably play with on this build is High Lords. That's because maybe you can play with other ways to get attack speed and maybe put more Pierce in your bow or something. Um, but plus skills are actually very valuable in this build. So if you got like a +1 skill here, or maybe even a +1 skill corruption here, you can actually increase the number of arrows in your multi-shot. Now that's not super important because once you're at this number of arrows anyway, you're kind of already shredding like a more narrow corridor in a map to begin with. But maybe some of those wider open maps, it actually matters. So plus, there's no other way to add skills to your multi-shot because you're a sorceress except from plus skills. So it's actually a pretty big deal to have like skills. You can of course have an all skill corruption here too. Instead, I'm just focusing on resistances, which I desperately and call to arms and the wall, which is pretty basic for a build, pretty much. All right, so this is the more, I guess, complex stuff going on here. So we have Treads of Thawne. So this is probably the only build in the universe. Well, okay, I can't say that. This might be one of the old. Besides maybe like a bow paladin, like a holy shock bow paladin or something, where you use these boots on. Because on a Zon, you get enough pierce through the skill, and maybe like one other item with Pierce. So normally these boots that are kind of underwhelming in general aren't on your radar, but you need that Pierce. As there's only 3 pieces of gear going to be able to get Pierce on this build. You're not going to be able to get it on the armor on this build because you need res, attack speed, DR, both. You're not going to be able to get it on the helm because you can through Giant Skull on a normal Bozon, but you can't do it on this because you need Dream. So, there's literally only 3 options for Pierce because of the corruptions that exist in PD2. So there's Treads of Thawne, which is up to 20. So this one luckily rolled 20. We need that. Now, this is also giving us faster unlock, which is kind of cool. Of course, there's other corruptions like cannot be frozen and other stuff you can. Ring. This is giving me my cannot be frozen. This is a self-crafted ring. It's a lot of life leech too, and in order to leech with very little physical damage, you need a ton of life leech, so it's not bad. I also lack AR, so attack rating is really nice, and it's giving us some res and life, and it's giving us the cannot be frozen stats, so we never get frozen. This is the other piece of gear. Like I said, we need Pierce on somewhere. This is actually pretty huge. So I got lucky in the last Slam Fest we did. I got lucky. I rolled Pierce on a Razor Tail. It's not max. The maximum roll would be 48, so it'd be 15% overall. But 46 is pretty huge. Honestly, nothing really beats, I think, a Pierce Corruption Razor Tail in this build, period. You really need to get as close to 100 Pierce. Like I said, you want to try to get to 80 if possible at minimum, which is tough to do. Because that means you need Pierce Corruption on Razor Tail, it means you need Tread of Thawne, and you need more Pierce on your gloves, which we'll talk about in a second. That's really tough. Alright, Dual Leech. Once again, this is my only source of mana leech, but it also gives me more life leech, AR, MF, and strength and life. So overall, just making me tankier. That's really important on hard. Honestly, on softcore, if you don't care about surviving too much, just leave on a Stone of Jordan or something. You can even boost your energy shield with Stone of Jordan, but then you don't have leech and you don't have AR. And you also don't have some of these other stats. But at least with Stone of Jordan, you could get more lightning damage from Dream. So skill rings are definitely an alternative option on software for that component of the build. Alright. Frostburns. Okay, Frostburns. Frostburns. I like Frostburns because they can give Fire Pierce, and they also give maximum mana, which is helping my energy shield, and they give even a little bit of fire and cold damage. I am only really using these because they have a perfect Pierce Corruption on them. If they didn't get a perfect Pierce Corruption on them, probably wouldn't use it. But I would say there's also other very solid options for this slot. You can also get Pierce Corrupted Soul Drainers, which give dual leech, and they reduce physical res, which actually helps leeching a bit. So overall, it's a better option for leeching. You can also use Magnus's Skin, which I think is the most common option for this build. So I can actually show that real quick. Magnus's Skin. So Magnus's Skin gives 20% chance to pierce base, period, which is actually pretty huge. If you get a Pierce Corruption on top of this, you can actually hit with my Razor Tail and my Treads of Thawne. You can hit 100% Pierce with that. So you can actually hit 100% Pierce. That's basically the only way to do it because it's the only gloves that's going to give chance to Pierce, and it has attack speed on top of it as well, and it has attack rating. So overall, it's a pretty solid option. I'm not currently using these. These would increase my Pierce a bit, and they'd also be a different option, so I could swap out maybe some attack speed jewels up in here. But in general, the Mercenary just getting himself stuck. It's crazy. In general, that's kind of what you want. Like attack speed corruption would be nice, but Pierce corruption would get you even closer to 100%. I'll explain that in a second. So we're not done. Okay, so all right, and then charms. So something I should explain about this build is that this build is fully customizable for the map. So this build really doesn't have a lot of problems with any kind of map under any circumstance. Kind of like other dual elemental or tri-elemental builds, because kind of like Phoenix Strike, which is the last big guide we did. It's the same thing. you can swap out either lightning skillers or fire skillers. Now, the reason being is that the fire skillers will boost your fire mastery. It won't boost your enchant in real time, it'll boost your fire mastery, which will boost your fire component of your damage a ton. In some maps, that's a good thing. In some maps, that's a bad thing. In other maps, you might want the lightning skillers because there's not as much lightning resistance or immunity, which are going to be boosting the damage of your lightning mastery, which will boost the damage from your dream. So, I have both sets of GCs on this character, and I can choose to do whichever one makes the most sense for this build. For the demo we're going to do, we're actually going to use the lightning skillers because we're going to be doing River of Blood, which has a lot of fire immunity. Of course, it also has a decent amount of lightning immunity, but it has, I think, even more fire immunity from the Doom Knights. So, there's a lot of options here. There's a lot of options, and it really depends on what you're trying to do. I talked about how you could go Coal Enchant, but it's actually kind of booty. And you could even pre-buff it with Coal GCs if you wanted, but that's not something I recommend. Of course, we have a Geeds on top of that. As you can see, our full sets of GCs here are pretty nice, which is really nice for hardcore because it's keeping us alive. We have a really nice Sorcerer's Torch, 56 Vitality. So we are using a Sorcerer's Torch. It's not a Zon Torch. Every skill in this build is a sorcerer's skill. Everything. We are just using the Zon skill Multishot and the Zon skill Guided Arrow for bosses. That's it. That's all. Which are being boosted by plus skills, and we're getting, like, you know, higher level Multishot, which is giving us more. That's about it. Annie that we found recently off Mayuri is freaking sick. And we got that one. We got Res, MF, Res, Life, everywhere. Including an FHR Res one, so we have another FHR frame. I don't know how necessary it is to hit the 42 frame, but okay, it can't hurt. Sometimes you get hit by archers and it just hits like a truck. So, alright guys. I think I've explained most relevant portions of the gear, the stats, and the skills. There's a lot to explain for sure. That took a while. But now what we're going to do is we're going to pre-buff. We're going to show you guys the process of this. So, what we're going to want to do, so there's some options for pre-buff. One thing I should note is that a really strong Ashudas with really high fire damage and fire facets in it will actually get you your best result. One thing to note is that the percent fire damage off of items actually matters. So, plus skills and percent fire damage. That's what you want to pre-buff your enchant sword.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Both of them. Now, this is an incomplete item. I actually just don't have the 5%ers. I want to get more 5%ers for it. But until I get more 5%ers, I just got 2 jewels. So we can even hit a higher damage value on this character than we're about to show, but it's not insanely huge. Like, every 5% is like 200 damage. It's not insane. But, I mean, that's like 600, 700 damage we're missing, maybe upwards of 800. So, that's a big deal. It could be. But overall, the plus skills and the percent fire damage is solid. Naxor GL, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Cult of Xana and your stay. I don't need a 5/5. I need a 5%, and I don't care about it being perfect. I don't actually care. What's up, Individual? How you doing? Alright, so this is actually S2HC Bow. Yeah, it's S2HC Bow Sorc if you want to view the gear in the chat. Alright. So, this is a really good option. A lot of sockets in a Ming songs because it has more plus skills than you can get any other way. That being said, if you can get like a fire damage 2-socketed perfect fire damage Ashudas with 3 skills, and then like a 3-skilled Lilith, you can actually exceed this. But it's such a ridiculous set of items. This is actually going to be your best bet in most cases if you get like a sick amount of sockets in a Ming song. That's going to be really good. Alright, let's continue here. So Shaco, you can get things way better than this. You can get +3 skills. I'd say the best in slot is actually a 3 fire skill circlet plus skill corruption with 2 sockets in it, both with fire facets. So this is actually one of our jankier items. It could use a pretty big upgrade, but we're looking for one. We'll see if we ever find one. This thing is about as, tricked out as you possibly can get. You want a 4 skill Ami. Pretty straightforward. You're not getting any % fire damage on that. Enigma. So once again, I'm just using plus skills, but if you want something that's way more tricked out than this, get a 3 enchant Ormus with maybe 3 sockets even, 3 fire facets, and 15% fire base damage. And you can add another like 1,500 damage, maybe even on top of the Enigma. This is not the best option at all. Neither of these is the best option, but I'll talk to you about, I'll tell you what the best option. Alright, so we got 2 skill rings. That's just the best you can do on rings is 1 skill. And same thing with the belt. Highest you're going to get fire skills is the Ragna's Mesh. And the only gloves in the game that give any kind of skill that's not some kind of Zon or Assassin skill are Mage Fists. So, yeah, got fire skill off that too. And right now this is my best pre-buff setup, but like I said, there's definitely things that we're missing. There's ways to make this way better. Obviously, you can't get any kind of thing on, so boots don't matter. Also, of course, stacking up the rest of your fire GCs, making sure you get 9 fire GCs and a maximum number of skills is going to be optimal. Because enchant fire is the key component of your damage, you'll notice it's pretty sick. The damage is pretty sick indeed. Did you actually sell that to... Oh my god, too cool for a name. Wow, actually, I would, if you were on hardcore, I would have actually taken that off you 100%. Someone in chat just told me they sold their enchant Ormus to Geed. Wow. That makes me sad, because that could have been damage on this character. And yes, I have thoroughly tested the % damage thing. The % fire damage persists. When you cast it, it snapshots 100%. So you want as much as possible. This fire damage on my enchant fire can get as high as 9,500. So, like, with, perfect gear setup. But we're quite a far away from that. But that being said, out of 30,000 plus damage, it's actually not that big of a deal. But it's something. It's a lot. It's a lot of minimum damage too, and it makes a difference. So we can make her a lot stronger if we really want to. All right. Without further ado, there it is. Using all that damage, and as you can see, I can slap things with my staff even if I want to. There you go. Bonk. That's what you're supposed to say when you do that. Boink. Bonk. Alright, we bonked him. Alright. We bonked him the Ming Song's lesson. Alright, so, but that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be putting on our regular gear. So after you enchant, you can even pre-buff your energy shield a bit. And you can also pre-buff your chilling armor. So. Alright, there it is. Alright, so now, without further ado, yeah, that's right. There's a particular order to this, and to be honest, I haven't gotten it down yet. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap out for lightning skillers. Now, not on some maps, I just keep the fire skillers there, and I just swap out the Geeds. In this map, there's a lot of fire immune, so let's boost the power of our. Boost the power of our lightning damage from the dream. We're gonna focus that a lot more. And I'll put the Maras back on so we can get our normal stats up. And the Ming Song's lesson back in. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. We got all our normal gear back on, and you can see that we're doing 15 to 35k damage. So overall, the damage is a little bit higher by boosting the lightning component currently. If my pre-buff was a bit better, it might be so close that it's just purely dependent on the map. So That's what I'm thinking. Alright. Without further ado, let's test a pretty sick density, awesome River of Blood map. And see how she's able to do in a pretty tough tier 3. Alright. As you can see, no struggles. No struggles. You have to watch out for the archers a bit, because you've seen my res, like, it's a little sketchy in here. These monsters here are why we have the lightning skillers on currently. Wow, that's not a problem that I would say is even much of a problem too cool for a name, to be honest. Even that staff is a beast. Yeah, you want to know a fun fact about that Ming Song's lesson? I self-found it, and I self-corrupted it in the last Slamfest. I found it literally the night before Slamfest happened, and I corrupted it for 5 sockets, so... that's going to give us as many fire facets as we possibly want. Once I can stack it chock full of fire facets, that's going to be optimal. It's missing 3 fire facets, so we can... Like I said, this is not as strong as it possibly can be, 100%. I'd say it's good enough, though. Like, right now, does anyone in the chat think this is a weak build? Does this look weak to you? I don't know. Well, it don't look weak to me. Woo! It's no throw barb yet, so... I mean, of course, it's no poison necro, it's no throw barb, it's no trapson, of course. And, it's no... I would even say it's not really even standard Bow Sorc tier, not quite, in some ways, but in some ways it is. And, it's pretty close. I wouldn't say it's overpowered, though. Like, even if I got a bit more damage, it looks manageable. Like, it's super expensive. Some of this gear is super specialized, and it doesn't... It's not like it instantly one-shots everything, or just shreds the whole screen with, like... It's not quite as crazy as all that. But... See how Dream's also confusing the enemies too? Yeah, see, Dream is cool. Notice how much damage we took there. Yeah. I wouldn't say this is the safest build in the universe, especially until I get max res. But, I think we're able to get by on this one. We're able to substitute some lack of survivability. Oh yeah, by the way, you can see I got 38 damage reduction now, but looks like the Mercenary just got shredded, so that's a separate issue though. If you want your Mercenary to primarily rely on his fire damage or just his enchant damage, by the way, you can even get him some DR, which actually is kind of recommended. I'd even say I don't think he's really wearing the most ideal build for this. Because he has to tank everything, dude. Oh my goodness. Jeez, okay, well. I don't exactly know what he's dying from, but... I did this map before, he didn't die a single time.
Yes, warrior.
Much density, maybe. It's getting wrecked. Yeah. Well, I don't know what's wrecking him exactly. Okay. It might have been those dudes, I don't know. Is there... No, there's no open wounds in this map. Oh. Oh, whatever. A back up. Mercenary's getting wrecked again. So just like with a boson, guided arrow is busted, and with all this elemental damage, you notice that our damage is still 35k on it. Look at that damage. Look at him just get shredded. Guided arrow is like the most OP boss killing ability in the game, at least for physical damage. It's crazy. That dude there was both lightning man. Yeah. Oh. Oh my god. Yeah, this is a tough map. Yeah, there's like this density is crazy. These auras are crazy too. We run into a lot of them. Okay. Jeez. Oh, is that the dude with the aura? I think it was. Alright, alright. Alright. Yeah, that's crazy. Such an unorthodox build, looks interesting. You never heard of this build before, or you just never made one before, Fano? I'm kind of surprised if you never heard of it before. Now this build also rips in cows for sure, but I mean I guess we can do like a short demo of the cow. We could just show it for a little bit. He shreds, man. It's fast. It's fast until you run into some nasty stuff. The minimum damage on the lightning damage is definitely a little challenging. But that's why I think most of the time, if there's not a lot of fire immunity, I think I'd prefer to wear the fire DCs. But hey, we're challenging this build a bit here. Seeing what it's really made of. I have the AR for Multishot too. What's up, Ollie? How you doing? Nah, that's pretty interesting, but it's really strong. The damage, man. Getting hit too much. That's the fact of this right now. We're just getting hit too much. I guess you could say that's a disadvantage of going into a map with archers. That you're inevitably gonna be hit too much. One thing to note is that after pre-buffing, the duration is huge, and if I have even more plus skills, the duration would be even larger. So shreddage, man, shreddage. Ugh. Yeah, just imagine like salvation aura on top of like fanaticism, so I can even hit the last breakpoint, which is impossible without fanaticism almost. I guess it's not impossible, but it's challenging. You'd have to use like Magnus's skin with like 30 attack speed, and then you have to use High Lords and the shaft stop, or you just have to use like shaft stop plus. You can definitely even get more attack speed than this too, potentially. It might be a little challenging, but yeah. Teleport's good for repositioning, that's about it. Mercenary, come over here. Yeah, it's not it. It's slow. It's slow as molasses. This is not a typical sorceress in any sense of the word. There's definitely like ways you could get attack speed. I mean FCR, but you're gonna have to sacrifice like a lot of other stats. So I really don't think it's that worth it to focus on FCR at all. It's not gonna matter much. Damn, buddy. Just use a beast merc. Why wouldn't I use guided? Because it doesn't hit as many monsters at the same time. And not quite as effective at that, man. Guided is really good against bosses, though. I mean, you saw me use it. Gotta get that range up. Sewers of Haragoth. Maybe we can put that one to the test. Seems like kind of a bad idea, but... Very nice. Just use a beast merc. Haha. I know, then where's my infinity? I mean, that's an option. Alright, well. Mercenary's getting wrecked in this one. Jeez. Last time he didn't die at all. Huh. What do you know? It is what it is, though. Sometimes the mercenaries don't like it in there, man. Like I said, if you get some more DR in him, I think it might be better. Maybe I should put the other shaft stop on him. Doesn't need physical damage anyway. Get some cold enchant on him. Let's see, unbuffed enchant. He's still getting 7,000 damage off that. Okay. Yeah, fire shrine, hell yeah. That's what we want in life. Pop the monsters. Ooh. Too bad it wasn't more out front. I probably would have used it. Just wear infinity. That's all you gotta do, just wear infinity. So you understand. You understand. You just gotta wear infinity. As a bow, so I gotta go shoot arrows from an infinity. That's a good solution. I like that one. You know, I wish they, if they made an infinity bow, that would be actually kind of, that might work. I suggested it before. The only problem then is I wouldn't get multi-shot, so, well, that's that. There's no solution. Great Scott. The solution. Still got her enchant. Oh man, we are out of juice. And this map has been nasty. But The main thing to demo here, though, is that she can do it. This build is not a meme build. I mean, it might be a bit hipster, but it's not a meme build. Like, it's solid clear speed. All things considered, is solid. What's that? Oh, is there any way I can get a link to this broadcast? The top of the, yeah, the top link on the top, right? If you're watching me currently, the URL that you're currently on should work. Should. Think. I think so. Ooh. We're gonna have to get by without Jews, guys. Guys and gals, can we do it? No Jews on hardcore. It's getting sweaty up in here. Oh, well, okay. Oh, I had Jews over here the whole time. Never mind. Well, I guess that's it for the danger. As you can see, though, the lightning GCs are working. Like, there is less lightning resistance in here, and having a bit more emphasis on your lightning damage. I still have a ton of fire damage, but now that our max light damage is 18k, it's at least giving us a strong option here. Sometimes the minimum damage just isn't enough, though. That's why raising the maximum damage at least makes the minimum damage less likely. Monka hyper. Alright. Oh god. Good thing we had a Jew there, right? Yeah, so that's why we have the energy shield up. One advantage of having the lightning GCs instead of the fire GCs is that you can actually proc a 36% energy shield instead of a 20% that I can with my current gear setup. So if I lose my energy shield that I put back on without pre-buffing is still decent. That's actually an advantage. Once again, not really something that's super important on softcore under any circumstances, but yeah. Wait, is that something that just happened to you? I think that did, because you were talking about not getting Oculus from Mephisto. Like, literally, like, 20 minutes ago. Yeah. What? It's crazy. Very recently, I'm thinking. Very recently. Alright, so... as you can see, as long as the Mercenary doesn't get wrecked, and, you know, like I said, maybe putting, like, a Crown of Ages or something... more defensive options on the Mercenary is better. I wasn't having as many issues earlier, but, you know, it's always a good idea. Super good. And notice how my my enchant never ran out. So once you get to like level 51 and above enchant, the duration starts to get insane. Like I said, there's still items that could improve our enchant levels, so we can have even more. But for the most part, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's doing a good job. All right, so once again, you're gonna do this. Now, we're gonna use the fire GCs for cows because you can drop their fire resistance even more. One thing to note is that fire DCs also help reducing their fire resistance with fire pierce from fire mastery. So all that stuff's good stuff. All very good stuff. All right, so let's before we mess around with that though, let's get the pre-buff going. Yeah, I think we got them all. Getting better at this, yes, we are. All right, 1,344 seconds. So you guys don't know how long that is in minutes. That is 22 minutes and 24 seconds. So yeah, it's a lot of minutes. As long as your map doesn't take longer than that, you're good. But if I can get level 54 enchant, I'm pretty sure I'll never have to worry about pre-buffing on like any map. So it's actually really close to that level. So one thing to note here. Alright, so done with that. We're actually going to leave the fire DCs on though. Gonna leave them on. I'm gonna do with the fire DCs this time.
I can't use this yet.
That's right. Can't use this yet.
I can't use this yet.
Still can't use it. Oh yeah, it's always the Maras. I keep forgetting about the Maras. Every time, man. Okay. Since we're not smacking stuff with the staff, we're good. Alright, so overall, looks like we got what we want. So notice now we have more minimum damage, but our maximum damage went down a bit. Like I said, I think if our fire pre-buff is a bit better, it'd be almost identical. You probably wouldn't lose any overall damage from switching to fire GCs. And at that point, it becomes purely based on preference and you preferring, and of course the map that you're actually doing. So once again, this character is in many ways fully customizable in that regard. All right, so I think we can just pop in this one. This one's got dolls, but that one had maximum life, so it's not super good to show off, I don't think. So we can do the doll one. The doll one's okay. It's fine. Dolls are not as scary as you might think. Well, Hodo, I mean, Oculus does have some advantages over Hodo, though. I mean, it's a lot better than Spirit Sword, especially on this mod, so. Rip. Are you playing hardcore too cool for a name, by the way, or on PD2, or what are you playing right now? Alright, here we go. Alright. Well, as you can see, she is a monster. The cows do not like her. Not one bit. Now you might notice that with 81% projectile pierce, probably one of the best ways to see like how good the pierce is to look at the cows. And you'll notice that most of the time it's going through all the cows. Like 100% would definitely be nice, but it doesn't seem to be mandatory under any circumstances. So I'd say as long as your pierce is high, like really high, it should be okay. I mean, you're playing the solo self-found, so that's actually hard enough, to be honest. I don't think that makes you very wimpy. And you know what? You know, there's... Hardcore is really only for people that really want a challenge, in my mind. Like, losing your characters... I say it all the time on my stream, but... Even though I play hardcore, and I realize there's a lot of good reasons to play hardcore, such as more robust economy where more corruptions actually matter. In some cases, I mean, it's not robust in terms of like more people selling stuff, but like it's robust in terms of like more items or more types of items being desired. And, you know, not having just so much emphasis on only power items necessarily. And, all that good stuff, really, and just, you know, more challenge and whatnot. You know, there's definitely reasons to play hardcore. Have those hard attacks and have that fun with that, but when it comes down to softcore, though, there's so many reasons, you know. It's, you lose a character, you don't want to make another one. You know how frustrated you'd get, so you don't want to get that frustrated. You know you just quit if you lost a character. Your internet sucks. There's a lot of reasons to play softcore. There's a lot. I'd say there's more reasons to play hardcore. Heck, even build diversity in softcore tends to be a bit better because you don't have to use the same damage reduction items on all builds over and over because you need damage reduction or whatever. Because not all items give damage reduction. There's only like, you know, there's only 2 belts that give native damage reduction. Well, no, that's not true. There's technically a blade buckle. There's 3, but yeah, like you get the idea. It's not as much. Like I'm using shaft stop on a lot of bow characters this ladder because I can't get DR anywhere else. What am I supposed to do? I can't get Storm Shield. I need belts that have Pierce on them or other stats on them. Oh, 33 items. That's pretty good. We'll see if you complete the grill. You know, you'll feel very accomplished. My first grill was softcore too, so it's like, you know, it's not even a big. Alright. Alright, but I think you guys get the idea. Twitch and YouTube, I think you guys have seen that this character is, in many ways, very monstrous, very powerful. And even with the fire GCs, the fire GC swap out definitely feels really good. Fire damage, increasing the fire damage overall, besides immunities, tends to feel better because it's boosting the minimum and the maximum damage a lot more, so you're not hitting low minimum damages, which is unfortunately a weakness of the lightning damage. So, yeah. GG, guys. OP stuff under all circumstances. Hope you guys try out this build and other crazy cool builds. Remember, in my YouTube section, you can always check it out at PD2. Under the PD2 guide section, we also have an LOD guide section now, which has 3 guides uploaded in it now, which is pretty cool. D2R prep guides and whatnot, so it's going to be good stuff. For you guys looking to learn more about progression through the game and endgame builds. We'll have some more, of course, as well, but for now, it's looking pretty solid. And hope you guys enjoy this upper A tier density clear in Season 2. I don't really see this build getting nerfed any more than she already has after Season 1 when they vastly reduced the power of the resist auras off the paladin for group play. And they even reduced the Dream Aura, which honestly, if she had a bit more lightning damage, I don't think it would make her broken. But if you did give Dream some of its power back, which might be better for some other builds, you could justify, like, maybe reducing her fire enchant damage. But either way, it's pretty ridiculous stuff overall. GG. And I'll see you guys next time. Like and subscribe if you like this video and you enjoy all of our crazy build action. We do it all. See you guys next time. Dark Humility over and out.